What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Road to Worship podcast. I'm your host, Chase, and guys, I am so pumped up and excited for you guys to meet my guest today. And let me tell you a little bit about him. Our guest is a man who went from lacing up cleats as a Division I running back at Weber State to stepping onto the biggest stage in competitive fitness. Not once, not twice, but 3-time CrossFit Games Athlete Cup champion. With over 20 years in the fitness industry, Adrian Conway founded Train to Rise Up, where he dedicates his knowledge and love for others by programming result-driven workouts for athletes of every level, and serves on CrossFit seminar staff, where he trains the next generation of coaches, helping others build their highest potential of fitness and health. You can catch him on the True Fitness podcast, where he drops knowledge on training, mindset, and nutrition for a massive community. Ladies and gentlemen, coach, competitor, entrepreneur, podcast host, gym owner, influencer, business owner, husband, father, and all-around force in the fitness world. Please welcome to the show, Adrian Conway.
Hey,
what's going on, man?
What an introduction. That makes me feel special, bro. I'm encouraged.
It's all deserved, man. You've done it all.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I'm extremely honored to be here. I'm glad to be spending time with you today.
Man, I'm happy that you're here. Tell us a little bit about what you do with Train to Rise Up. I know I mentioned a little bit about the programming that you do. The CrossFit industry has been a point of ambiguity for people who are not in CrossFit, which I know you're well aware of. And so tell us a little bit about what you do in regards to programming for people in their workouts.
Yeah, we really do it all. And I don't mean to say that as too much of a generality for anyone that's out there listening, but we try to serve anyone that's looking to improve their physical fitness. And really what that looks like, Chase, is that we work with people that are in the infancy of their fitness journey, maybe even from just a nutrition perception. They want to learn how to eat healthier, how to take better care of their body. And the list that we serve of clients goes all the way from the very beginning, and people may be curious about, like I mentioned, the way they fueled or how to actually just live a more active lifestyle, all the way up until people who are pursuing what I would categorize as human dominance to try to make it to the CrossFit Games, right? So we literally serve people who are training for functionality and living a happy, healthy lifestyle, and then all the way up into that top tier where they're trying to perform better than anyone else in the world at a sport that is all inclusive of anything that could be asked of them. So it's a very diverse business that we have, and we offer it in different ways. So a lot of what we do is one-to-one coaching, which is how we're able to make that nuanced approach of serving the individual. And then we have 8 live tracks where people can pay $19.99 a month. And basically we've got anywhere from a strength program to an aesthetics-based program to a competitive fitness-based program to an endurance program, and everything that you can imagine in between there to try to serve people from more of a general sense so that they're not having to pay the premium price for the same kind of attention that they might get one-to-one.
Sure. No, that's awesome. The fact that you've made such a high value product being somebody's health and somebody's fitness and the capacity of things that they can do so available to people who need that kind of attention. But like you said, may not have or not be in the financial situation that they need for the kind of high level that they're expected to pay for that kind of attention. So the fact that you're able to give that to any range of people that need it is amazing, from competitors to even to families who just like, hey man, I just need to live and lead a better life. Like, can you show me how to do that? That's an incredible thing. I mentioned earlier that you were heavy into football for quite a while. And that was a big dream and passion of yours. I know you still love football. It's a huge part of your life. That is something that people typically, they dream and they push for and they want to keep for as long as possible. But you made a shift. You left the football space and then you entered into still the similar industry, but your approach and your way of attacking that industry has changed into this business and into helping others in a way. What drove you to making that shift?
Yeah, well, to be honest, Chase, I think you're nailing it when you say that someone like me who, played football at like the Division I level, I certainly growing up almost idolized the sport, right? Where it was kind of my purpose to a degree. I mean, I think for a long time I portrayed it as like, oh, it's, football's not my identity, but really I moved in a way that it was. And I say that because I was very all in, meaning that I've always been an old soul. There's a lot of my history that we could dive into that would, I think, lead to such a descriptor. But even long before some of the shaping things in my character, like as a teenager, I was always kind of like the old guy, the old 12-year-old, right? Like I was just,
right.
Which was a good thing. Probably let my parents live a bit more of a peaceful life than most of my other teenage friends and siblings even. But I was very committed to this football thing, man, in such a way that, in high school, I was trying to go to sleep early and train, and I was in the weight room and I was doing all the things that allowed me to feel like I didn't want to be, I always met a lot of older people in my life that were like, oh man, if I'd have done this, I'd have been the best at this. Or, boy, you should have saw me back in my day doing this and doing that. And like that I was always very annoyed by that. And I was like, well, then you should have. If that was true, then you should have. So I lived my life in such a way competitively. I never wanted to be that. I never wanted to think in my own mind, man, if only I would have tried harder, if only I would have been more committed, or if only I would have done X, Y, and Z. With that said, man, I really did pursue football as long as I could. So it wasn't necessarily that like I made this wise choice to stop being a football player, because I tried to milk it, bro, as long as I could. I went from Division I football at Weber State, where I had a bit of an injury-plagued career, and I was always really a hard worker. I think, we can get to my spiritual journey in just a bit, but I was baptized as a sophomore at Weber State, and that really changed, I think, a lot of the way I led, the way I followed, the way I looked at football, the way it shaped me, the way I trained, just my presence and attitude. Fortunately enough, after that year, I mean, I was a 2-year captain at that school, and I think it was because, I believe it's because of the Holy Spirit and the things that it gifted me with and the way that I lead and served my teammates. Yeah. And my point is that I dreamed of being an NFL football player my whole life. And so I kept pursuing that as best I could. I played 2 years of arena football right after Weber State, and it got to the point where it was like I just didn't see, no matter how successful I was at that level, that I was going to go and progress towards a level of football that I dreamed about in my heart, right? Okay. Hey, it was cool to get cut a check to play football at a level that I still thought was like really awesome. I got to travel the States and do so many cool things, but also I was like, man, I think it's time. Like I really do have to force myself to see what's next for me career-wise. Fortunately enough, I studied human performance at Weber State, so that put me in this professional career space of personal training, performance training, and then CrossFit. So long-winded way to get back to your question, bro, is that I got into CrossFit because I was already training so many performance-based athletes. And at the place where I was currently serving and working, they had continued education foundation for like the employees every year. Gotcha. So they would just cover it. They didn't really have a financial, like, hey, you could do this, or like it's a certain amount of money that we'll cover. It was just like, hey, you pick a certificate course, we'll let you take it. Okay. We were doing these adult fitness classes at my spot, and I was like, I need to learn more about this stuff. I looked up what was being offered out there. CrossFit was the most expensive thing. I was like, that's what I want them to pay for.
Yep,
right
that's it. Yep.
And so that's really how it started for me. Is I showed up, I learned about the methodology, and I really fell in love with it almost immediately right there.
That's such a cool journey where you were trying to find almost like a bigger dream. Like you could see later down the road in football that you're like, I can get to this high level, maybe or maybe not. I can see the end of kind of see the result there, but not. At least I got the sense from you sharing that you weren't completely satisfied with where you would have ended up if you kind of kept going down that road. And so you wanted to find a different one of like what's more fulfilling, especially as you were starting to follow God through that point as well. You're like, okay, life just got so much bigger, so much more important. What do I do through that? And it seems like you've hit that path, I'll say. I mean, for sure. The amount of people that you helped and the ability that you have is exceptional. What is something that you find so valuable about CrossFit? You know, when you're talking about the methodology that you learned that CrossFit still upholds, it is very valuable, and it's meant to be long lasting. It's meant to increase your life and to give you the highest quality of life. So that it has that. But what is something that you find valuable in CrossFit, whether if it's the methodology or its exercises and its programming, that you would want everybody to know that might not be so known when it came to the value of CrossFit? That's
a great question. There's so many different directions I could take it. To To be honest with you, man, it's like there is something so much bigger than the physical adaptation that CrossFit elicits to its athletes or clients or whatever people want to call themselves that do it. That is really what innately drew me in. So what I mean by that is that you're taking a lot of times the everyday man and woman, not people that want to play in the NFL, not people that want to be the fittest on earth, but just the everyday person. And a lot of times they don't even know what they need to do. They know why they're in there, right? There's a lot of purpose behind the choices that draw people to CrossFit. Like, I want to feel better about myself physically, or, the doctor told me I'm a little heavy, or I'm on this heart pressure, high blood pressure medication, and I'd like to get off it, or whatever it might be. In today's world, it could be like, hey, I'm exploring GLP-1s. I don't want to be on them my whole life. Can you guys teach me a lifestyle of nutrition and fitness to help me balance this? Whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. But you go in there, man, and all of a sudden you're like looking at these folks and the way the effort that is coached and asked of them, the way they have to learn the mechanics of these movements, because we train mostly functional movements, meaning that you with barbells or your body weight or with dumbbells or kettlebells, and there's technical focus that is demanded, right? You can't just go in there and turn your brain off and just kind of move and sweat and breathe. Yes, that's part of it, but you really do have to be studious to a degree. Like, you walk in there, you got to be a little curious. So I was always really drawn to that, because to me, it really highlighted the aspects of adulthood that don't exist in our world that I wish did normally, right? Like, CrossFit's like this, it's like adult recess to a degree. Yeah. It's hard. It's not easy, but there is really, for people that learn to love it, this freedom there that fills their cup, whether it's socially or whatever. Again, there's a lot of people, I tell people all the time, that come to CrossFit that actually do not like to work out. So don't feel like you got to be passionate about it. They don't like to work out. They literally use it as their social hour. And then a coach like me is the one wrangling them in and making them pay attention, or like, hey, get back to that barbell, or like whatever, right? Yeah. But they're there for social hour. So I think, before I get rolling too much on this, there are parallels to the Salt Lake Christian Church that I found as a 20-year-old. And this methodology. And not to say that they're one and akin, but CrossFit I was really drawn to because there were standards. Yeah. There were like people that were like, oh, you do CrossFit? Show me. Like, show me what you mean when you do. And it's not by like how you look or anything like that. It's just like, oh yeah, we squat. Oh yeah, we press, we do thrusters. Oh, I breathe hard. Yes, I do. It's hard for me, right? Like there's just this akin nature, right? That people share. And I've always felt that way about my spiritual walk as well. It's like, there's these biblical standards. It's fruits of the Spirit. It's really, how are you really doing? Like, what does your walk with God look like? And are we holding each other accountable to that? Right. So there's all these beautiful things. And one day I'll probably write a book about why my heart was drawn to CrossFit and why I think that these two things can really work together in such a beautiful way, from community to accountability to the love and the passion of it. But long-winded answer, man. That's some of the stuff that I was really drawn to with CrossFit specifically. And I think I'd like people to know that it's so much greater than the workout for your body. It changes who you are between your ears, and if you let it, even to your heart. Depend on what kind of community you're part of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're a part of a great one at Tecton. We are developing and creating. We're already part of a great one at Latrano CrossFit. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I also shout out to Tecton Fitness. We love you.
Yeah. That's right. But so many other CrossFit affiliates across the world are like just shaping better humans, man. And that's really what I want to be doing is, a tagline for me as a coach is not that I make the fittest humans on earth. It's that I make better people. Right. And wherever you start, I just want to help you be a little bit better than who you are today.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I didn't realize the comparisons or the similarities between CrossFit and discipleship, specifically, not even Christianity, but discipleship and the practice of it, how similar it is. The way I phrase the gym that I go to, it's the church outside of church, because it shares so many qualities and characteristics of what church is reflected to be in the Bible, with community, with accountability, like you said, with holding to standards and building each other up and being the iron that sharpens iron, all of the good qualities between how we treat one another. It's all there, and it's such a beautiful thing. And it's one thing I can share with you of just also wishing people would get. If you can move past the pain that you'll feel that you're going to put your body through, if you can move past the discomfort of learning new movements, the humility of not being able to do some movements at first. Oh my gosh, dude.
Come on.
It was awful.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. You were a part of my CrossFit journey when I first started. And, man, just the way I had to scale back on movements, not because I didn't believe in myself. No. I did not know how to do them. So you have to slow down, and you have to start slow, because you will injure yourself. You're out here doing things you don't know how to do yet. That's right. And same thing with discipleship. You're going to go out and try and do something you're not prepared for. It's going to bite you in the butt. Yep. So get the people around you, get the accountability, and get your circle and your community and your family around you, so that you can make it work. Yeah, man, I'm happy you shared that. It's a quality that not a lot of people see until they've experienced it.
You're right, bro. It's funny because I think like I would love to expose so many of our brothers and sisters to like the purity of what it's like, though, right? Because so many of them have these notions and assumptions of what it's like, and they might see me and they're like, bro, come on, man, I'm not working out with that guy, right? Like, they might even see you lifting and be like, I'm not lifting what Chase is lifting. I'm not like, why would I go to that place? Like, he's probably doing all these things that I can never do.
That's been told to me to my face.
I'm telling you, bro. Listen, I know. I get it. I get it. But here's the beauty too, is like there's a couple things that I would love to highlight, where it's like CrossFit, a lot like spiritual walk, right? If you think it's from a worldly perspective, so many people are okay to show up to church on Sundays. Right. Like a lot of people, and that's okay. No knock. Right. They're getting either their first fruits, or they're getting some kind of fruit and fed. Yeah. Right. And it's a lot the same in the CrossFit gym. People are willing to show up for the hard workouts. Right. But then like CrossFit actually has a nutrition prescription, and it's eat meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Keep intake to quantities that support exercise, but not body fat. And so we do our best to adhere to that. The downside is, a lot like people who go to church on Sundays and don't get spiritually fed throughout the week. They don't study their Bible. They don't enrich themselves with God and have that intimacy with him. A lot like this CrossFitter, the results are so much more limited in the experiences that you get and the results that you get from your hard work, right? Like, so there's, for me, that was always a thing. It's like, oh, how's your spiritual nutrition, bro? Yeah. How's your real food nutrition, bro? Right? Like, those things matter so much because it's only 1 hour in a day. Church is only 1, maybe 2 hours on a Sunday for you, or maybe even 1 or 2 hours on a Wednesday, right? If you're really committed, for a lot of people. But it's like, what are we doing in those other 23 throughout the day, 6 days a week? So I've always loved that. Another one is like, it always reminded me of the gentleness and also the assertiveness that's needed for discipling each other, bro. It's like, and you know what this is like, Chase. You'll be in a class and you're doing your best to squat to depth, but you're actually just not quite there. And a good coach will be like, hey, Chase, drop your hips just a little bit lower. And maybe you're going to do that by driving your knees out just a touch. Hey, Chase, knees out, you're just going to drop your hips down. Oh, that's way better, bro. Nice work. Keep it up. Versus, Chase, what are you doing, man? That squat looks like trash, bro. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I told you to squat down lower, right? Like, and now think about it from a discipleship perspective. You got someone dropping the ball. Maybe they're literally trying to pursue God better, but they're not doing it in a wise way, or they've never been through this experience in their life, or maybe they are dropping the ball with some sin.
Got through bad habits. That's
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. But it's like, man, as the discipler or the coach in that relationship, man, you got to make sure you're doing it out of love and doing it with a little bit of love, and you're going to help that person rise up, and they will be better. So it's always, the tactfulness is so important, bro. And I've learned it the hard way on both sides. I've learned it the hard way with discipleship, whether it was me getting a hard lesson from another brother, and I was like, bro, you do not make me want to come back to church ever again in my life. Or I'm sure I've been on the other end of it, right? And then it's the same thing with coaching. But those are just a few like synonymous things that I've loved so much about my career, man, that I feel like they really have taught me lessons on both sides, both ones that with my knuckleheaded self, bro, I had to learn for sure.
Yeah, life teaches you a good lot if you let it, and those are some of the great lessons. But you're transitioning into this really well. But because my next topic I want to talk about is directly on this. Here on the podcast, we talk a lot about worship and how it's defined. Specifically how it's defined, how we live life for God. It's not just songs that we sing on a Sunday. It's the kind of the birth of this whole platform is that concept. And for those listening, Adrian, and who are considering a relationship with God, they might be navigating on what that looks like. Let's say that they're church shopping and they're trying to figure out, like, is this something for me? Is this the right choice? I used to go to church and I got screwed over for whatever reason. I don't want to go back, or something happened and they're considering this again. What wisdom from your own life would you impart on them, specifically from what you've learned in your journey of trying to find that relationship with God that you now have and are still working on?
Yeah. Another banger, man. You're great at this question asking thing, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because it makes my mind wander in different ways. For me, I got baptized in 2006, so I'm coming up on 21 years a disciple.
There you go, man.
Many ups and many downs, and I've been here in Salt Lake from day one. So I haven't traveled much, and I've seen other churches and visited other churches, right? You get the idea, but it's like we're a relatively small group at our Sunday worship. And something that I've constantly had to battle with and remind myself is that God is perfect and the people are not. And that is really easy to say and very hard to live out in regards to we're all so different, and we all deal with having different backgrounds. We all deal with having different purviews on this whole world and God and scripture and interpretation of such scripture. And it really makes me feel as though if I were to give anyone advice that's kind of toying with this idea of getting to know God deeper, or has had bad church relationships or been hurt by people, is to really explore. This is going to sound silly, man, but my children are in 3rd and 1st grade, and they've both experienced people being mean and picking on not necessarily them, but other people, bullies, right?
Sure.
They've seen people start fights. They've been a part of those altercations. Most of it's verbal. And, as a dad, I've got several knee-jerk reactions.
I'm sure. Yep.
Fortunately, I haven't pulled the trigger on many of those. But what I try to tell them is that a lot of times the people who are hurting people are very hurt. And that's even from a child's perspective, where these kids go to school and they don't have quality time with their parents, or maybe there's only one parent at home, or maybe they're feeling away, and so they want to make someone else feel away, right? And I think about that for children, and then look at me at 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, 60 years old, and how that accumulates through a lifetime. And the amount of grace that I have to be able to show other people because of these experiences that they're continuing to build, right? So for me, it's like, if it's a church hurt, it's like, man, find that grace and empathy that God shows us, and do your best to give it to other people. I think honesty is something that has helped me in realness. I've seen so many people fall away, Chase, because they didn't, to be honest with you, people weren't able to read their mind. No one can read your mind. We're not God. And you've got to have either the love and support to be honest and open with people, or you've got to sometimes make the really hard choice to offer it, even if you think they may not be ready. Out of love, best you can. But it's better to say the thing than to not say the thing and leave, because God wants you in his kingdom, and he wants you a part of a church. And he probably wants that church to hear what you have to say, because you are his child, like everyone else, a part of that, congregation. So those are things that come to me. I don't know if that's exactly what you were hoping for from a response, but man, it's like, those are things that, man, I've watched so many brothers and sisters hit the road, and really it came down to, like, I don't know if people understood where they were coming from the best. And I think we could have helped them had we known. Or they needed to pull in more people to feel supported, right? Like I see some of the people, and I'm like, man, I wish I could have helped more there. I wish I had known what I could have done to support that person. So this sounds a little ruthless, but I tell my clients, when people sign with me as a 1-to-1 athlete, you know what I say, man? The squeaky wheel gets the attention. Don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel. You got to bring things up to me so I can help you. If you think I can read your mind, or think that I'll observe it and notice, and I'm not, be sure to just bring it up. Bring it to me. I'm here to serve and help you. But if you don't bring it up, I'll never know.
Right.
So don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel.
We look for authenticity and honesty here when we have our conversations, and you're given exactly that. So there's really no right or wrong as long as it fits those two things. It's really become a Christian epidemic. I don't know if it's happening in other religious practices, but I definitely see it where church is become perceived, church being the body of people that meet in one place to worship a perfect God.
Yep.
Has its perspective has molded into, okay, so what the church does is what I have to adhere to and be in line with 100%, not the Bible necessarily. It's like it's kind of become the middleman, and we follow the middleman and not the source to an extent. And that can warp the perception of church and ministry to the point where when humanity shows itself, when flaws present themselves and it affects you, guess what it affects? Your view of God. And the fact that the grace, the empathy, the patience, the almost expectation of mistakes has started to drift away to where the so when the flaws and mistakes present themselves, they hit you harder and they impact you in a way that I think could be preventable when it comes to church hurt, or when it comes to just damage that happens, or it could even not even be associated with people directly. Like Adrian did not come to me in church and slap me in the face and I had to leave. It's, something happened in my life, just like what you said with your athletes. Nobody read my mind on what I was going through, so I have to leave because I'm not getting the support that I want. I am subject to that. I do that all the time. And it's not healthy. Like it can ruin relationships without there being a conversation that ruined the relationship. It's all one-sided. And bringing that back to just this concept of worship, how we live our lives and interact with other people, God's other children, is a direct response on how we view God in the first place. It's bringing the gratitude of what God has already done, the gratitude of Jesus dying on the cross and saving us from sin, bringing that example of grace, not perfectly, because we cannot do it perfectly, but we're bringing it. Just like how you can show up to a workout, you're not going to hit it perfectly, you're not going to RX everything, but you show up and you still do it to the best that you can.
That's right.
That I would love to witness more. And I think it's having these kinds of conversations about just figuring out how to live life together is become the hope in regards to this. So I'm really happy that you're open enough to kind of share all of this and see, like, hey man, like, for those of you who may have felt that, or for anybody listening who has had something happen and are finding a new church family, or you got hurt in some way, or something happened to you. I know there was a situation in my family where there was a death in my family. My dad's mom died and we were taking care of her, and the response we were needing from other people we didn't get when it came to just the grieving process and just trying to figure all that out. Thankfully that she ended up studying the Bible and got baptized 2 years before she died, which was amazing. This is where our lack of faith came in, but we didn't think that was going to happen. And the fact that happened and people were there and whatnot, but in the moment where the emotions were at its highest is when we felt the loneliest. And so, and using that now, not as a point of, oh, you did something wrong. It's okay. What do we learn from it? And I wish I had an answer, but that's why we always go back to the Bible, right? On trying to figure out how do we respond from things that happen in our life. Is there a point in your Train to Rise Up business, with your coaching, with your consulting with other CrossFit gyms, even with your new gym that you just purchased? Congratulations, by the way, Latrono CrossFit. feel free to drop in for a visit if you're in the area.
That's right. Please do.
Yeah.
We're in Utah. Come find us.
Is there a person or example that you've faced or you have encountered in recent years where you felt a hard pivot from God of like, hey, it kind of felt like you hit a wall moment and you're like, gosh, I kind of don't know what to do. And you had to make a major change in order to see progress. Can you think of a time where that's kind of happened and what your response was?
Yeah, no doubt about it, brother. It was in 2022, towards the end of 2022. So like a lot of people are familiar with my journey as a coach. So I've been coaching for 21 years, full time until 2017, the end of 2018, where we started a business called FNX. FNX was a supplement business. Mm-hmm. Now, we were brought on as partners, minority partners in this business. So we had ownership. I got involved. I was full time there. So I exited a lot of the time and effort that I spent into coaching. The long-term idea here was to become a business owner and learn what it meant, right? Like to sell goods, to promote. My predominant role in that business chase was to do a lot of the same things that I was doing as a coach, and it was to educate, inspire, maybe entertain a little, right? Those are things that I really love to do. I love to educate. I love to inspire people, and I love to entertain to a degree, like things just on this podcast, right? It just fills my cup. I feel like God's gifted me with an ability to do those things.
Yeah.
And so for 6 years plus, that was my full-time gig. And I was still doing a little bit of coaching, but at that point I'd remove myself from CrossFit seminar staff because I was literally at a job all week like normal people, 50 hours, 45 hours every week. And then I didn't want to have myself available to work weekends because of the way that affected my growing family at the time.
Yeah.
Our first was born in 2017, our second 2019. So those were pivotal years for me. My wife exited a traditional job that she had, a career job at Big D Construction, where she did marketing for them for 10 years. And we pulled her out of there because we wanted to live a life intentionally so that she could be present with our children.
Sure.
That was a hit to our finances. We were part of a startup company. There was a lot of risk associated with that. Yeah. We went from a point of making money to barely scraping by for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm saying all this to kind of paint the picture of what would go on to happen over the next 5 or 6 years, where we had some pretty successful moments with the business. We even had a very high... We started to get some offers for our business right after COVID 21. Goal was this, or during 2020, the goal was to sell our business. That was it. 5 to 6 year window. We wanted to sell it and then hopefully have some type of nest egg to be able to start to invest in our retirement and do different things. Whether it was, we had a lot of plans. The idea, however, didn't play out the way that we expected. We got a great offer. We got a great evaluation on our business. And then through due diligence, they discovered we had a bit of what's called a COVID bump. And many businesses within the fitness industry had this COVID bump. So we had a multiple of 5 or 6 that took us into, a 10 digit figure business evaluation. And it was cut to a fraction of that. So immediately we're like, okay, so what they're seeing on our back end is that people were pouring into our business because they had nowhere else to go. They were spending money a lot more. They were investing in their health and supplements.
Sure.
And the market predicted that would change. Okay. All of this changed the way that we had to operate our business because we had things to tighten up in order to get back to that high evaluation that we were kind of goaling for. Long story short, we never got back there, and we had to cut employees. We had to get small as a business. And eventually we ended up selling that business at a fraction of the cost, not nearly the money that we had dreamed of, or we hoped would even be some type of nest egg or security towards our future. None of those things happened. So in 2022, we started to exit the business, and I found myself with no job. Didn't talk about it. Didn't say anything to anybody else about it. Didn't need to. Because to me, this was the hard pivot on what I needed to do was get back to making better humans. And I needed to let the gifts that God gave me focus much more on the way that I serve people and lead them versus the way that I sell to people and try to make profit. And so I felt strongly convicted, and that's where Train to Rise Up came from. True had slightly existed prior to during the latter years of FNX.
Okay.
because I was still doing some coaching for some of the ambassadors that we had. So, but all these things that I left in the past, I had to get back into, right? I had to get familiar with new software that I was going to use. I had to open myself up to one-to-one coaching again. I had to do all these things, but it was very much a hard reset. I went from carrying a handful of clients to now needing enough to pay my mortgage at this house, right? My wife still wasn't working. Children are now into school. Daughter started kindergarten or getting ready to start kindergarten. Okay. There was a lot of pressure on me, and that's where Train to Rise Up really started to become more of my full-time focus. And that was both from, a human nature perspective of a pivot, but I also felt like that was really guided by God in regards to allowing me to see what more of my purpose outside of my spiritual walk, or where my spiritual walk was actually going to be a part of my every single day and every single moment, was in that transition back to what I'm doing now.
You made the decision to take on risk in a time where most would settle or decide with stability, which I'm not going to blame anybody for that. You're starting a family, you want stability. Of course, that's it's an essential component there. It sounds like there was a component of utter trust and humility in that process and in that decision making, because it sounds like the journey that you were on at FNX was teaching you a lot in regards to how to run a business. Yep. It was showing you the skills and the grit and the tenacity and the smarts that you need to have to kind of keep something going, keep something afloat. But even in hearing you talk, it sounds like it was never really something you wanted to retire or die doing. It was, I want to help people. I want to make better humans, which led you to Train to Rise Up. Do you think that the pressure or the stakes that were on you as a father and as a husband helped you at all in bringing in the revenue and stability that you needed to bring True to the point where it is now?
Oh, no doubt about it. And to be direct with you, I'm very, God places us in times and with people on purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And so every moment of my life builds to the next moment. And I'm very sensitive to that. So when I look back at my life and I think about the moments where pressure was greatest in football games, and I proved to myself that I could execute, or when I got injured and I got 2 screws in my ankle, and then the next year I came back and became the starter at my school when they tried to recruit people to replace me, right? Like there were different things that I've experienced in my life that I've proved to myself that I can do that. And so I lean and cling to those lessons. I do it every day in training when I work out, especially if I'm training for a greater purpose. Like if I want to compete or something like that, people ask me all the time, like, well, why do you feel so if today was a bad day of training, how do you feel so confident in the future? And I'm like, I've been proving this to myself for 20 years that I will follow through with a thing. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that God has gifted me with an ability to really be, there's certainly a stubbornness to it. But I like the fact that you were like, trust, you use the word trust. And I really do trust that first and foremost, Chase, if I lost everything, that God would be enough. If I had to sell my house, and if I had to move somewhere else with my family to support them, if I had to X, Y, or Z, like I know that God would provide, and I would seek him first continually the same way I do every day. Mm-hmm. And I believe that our lives would be awesome, right? Like there is a huge element of trust there, but I really don't want to ignore that. Like the things that I've done my entire life in a gym, outside of a gym, in sport, in everyday life, it makes me feel confident in the outcome, even when I'm uncertain, because I've kind of been there. Different situation, different time of life, different family, different surroundings, right? Like my responsibility list is now a 40-year-old is much, much higher, and the stakes are way greater than they were as a 20-year-old, no doubt about that. But I hope that answers your question. But yes, the answer ultimately is yes.
Yeah. Well, good. That's a perspective of struggle that I am still learning, and I really appreciate your perspective on it. The Bible talks about how to not even how to, but the fact that we have to be joyful in all circumstances.
That's right.
Part of that, I'd probably say the majority of that, being when things suck. Like when things are uncomfortable, things are stressful, tensions are high, feels like there's an 80-pound stone in your gut because you don't know what to do with whatever situation, whether it be financial or career-wise or spiritual, physical, mental, whatever it may be. I wonder if part of being joyful in the process is understanding what the perseverance through those struggles bring, being hope, referring to the scripture. I'm blanking on the location of the scripture off the top of my head. But understanding that component of, no, so what you're feeling right now is going to suck. It's like, it's going to hurt. Your emotions may not change, but understanding what the results of it will be when you move through it. That is the joy bringer. At least that's what it's been for me. I'm not going to sit here if my business is tanking and I'm not going to know if next month, if business is going to be intact, next month or not. That's not a good feeling by any means, but the truth and the knowing, like you said, that God will provide and be there no matter what. And he will stick by his side and he'll stick by you. Mm-hmm. Man, that is a piece that I never really understood until those trials presented themselves. Yep. And the ability to do that, I think it takes that kind of situation to fully feel. Like, yeah, I can sympathize with people kind of who felt that, but until you go through it, you're like, oh, okay, that's what they meant. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm grateful that you shared that in just this journey that you had of security and then insecurity, a little bit of fear in the mix there probably, and then just seeing God move. My cat is saying hi, by the way. She usually makes an appearance in every episode.
I love it. Hello back to the cat.
Yes, exactly. We have a lot of entrepreneurs who watch this show, and specifically ones who are trying to figure out if leaving their stability, if they have stability in the moment, is the right way to go, if it's the right timing, or if there is a perfect situation and opportunity to meet, then I have to jump off the proverbial cliff in regards to risk taking and kind of figure that out. For somebody who is wanting to start their kind of entrepreneurial journey, whatever industry it may be, knowing what you know now, having been in the fitness space for 20 plus years and now having experience as a business owner in multiple facets, both with an actual building, with products and with services, what would you impart on the 25-year-old business venturer that wants to make their own value or make their own value available to the world in that way? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think, I hear people, like, to me, this is what breeds success, right? And I hear successful authors talk about this, but like, you shouldn't be writing books if you can't stop talking about the thing that you're writing about. Right? Meaning, like, you should only write a book. Like, people get ideas. They're like, oh, I'm going to write a book about mindset. Well, that's cool. But only if you cannot shut your mouth about your theories on mindset, why it's amazing. You should be stuffing it down everybody's throat because you're so passionate about it. It oozes from you, it pours from you, and you can't help but write this out. That's when it'll jump off the page. That's when you'll have a great selling book. It's the same with entrepreneurship. If you have this like passion and it's kind of lukewarm and it's like, guess what? No one's buying your stuff. No one's going to do your thing. If you don't have this zeal that oozes from your skin and oozes from like the very words that come out of your mouth, it's just not going to move someone to exchange a fee for you because they're giving you time right here. This exchange of money is time, and time is the most valuable asset that anyone has. Specifically me, I guard that like it is boy, oh boy.
Yep.
That's a whole different answer to a question of some way down the road. But man, I think, the passion is the biggest question for me with young entrepreneurs. And then I would offer, this is an advice perception, but do you have a passion for doing a specific thing, or do you have a passion to be an entrepreneur and business owner? Those are two very different things. Just because you want to do a thing doesn't mean that you shouldn't go work for someone who's already doing a thing, and then you do it and you're free to do it and it's a beautiful thing and it's high level. But if you're so engaged with a thing, you can't really own a business doing a thing unless you just want to be a one-man show the rest of your life. What you have to have is this vision for working yourself out of a job as fast as you can, any role in your business. Meaning that, like, if I love, which I do, I love programming so much, which means writing workouts. And in the CrossFit space, for those of you that don't understand, there's like a flow to it. There's almost like this, yes, it's very scientific, but there's also an art to writing good training and a good workout for different intended outcomes. So I love this so much. But Chase, I'm not a good business owner with True Fitness if I write all the workouts, because I'm not becoming so busy with the way that my business churns, the way that I create leads or make sales to my programs. I need to be able to push myself so far out of that role that I bring other people on to do it, so then I can move up again. And now it's like, okay, hopefully I have a team of programmers or coaches, and then I need to move up again. And now I need to have a boss over the programmers, and now I'm here overseeing program development, and now our reach is right. So I know that's a little bit of a rambling, but I think that people get into entrepreneurship thinking, well, I'm so good at a thing, or I'm so passionate about a thing, and I just want to do it forever. You might actually want to get a job for someone that's already doing it or running a business, because my gosh, you might have the freedom to like love a career of doing that thing that you love, and you're free of heart and stress, and you're like working a career. Maybe you get a salary, or maybe you're sold, whatever you might get paid by. But I think that's often, and that was something, to be quite honest with you, bro, that is something that I had to learn from watching others move. I had to learn it. No one told me this. No one was like, Adrian, so if you're going to go this route, here's where your vision should be. And I've got friends that do it very well. And to me, they're mentors of mine, even though I don't pay them in exchange. It's just like, I learned by watching so much, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I see this. Okay. Writing this down. Writing this down. I'm running home to tell my wife about it, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I learned this. I say, I feel like this is what I got to do, and this is the way that we can move, and this is the change we can make, or whatever. And it's the same thing. And I'll put a plug on this question here with this, but it's the same thing with our recent purchase of this gym. The reason that purchasing this affiliate made sense is because we've had this dream of owning a brick and mortar space, right? So that's part of it. It's not just a CrossFit gym like the business that we want to own. We want to own the building. And so there was an opportunity there for that. And that's long-term investment, not short-term. That's very long-term investment, right? That's a lot of dollar bills and a lot of like saving and prioritizing and loans and planning and so much stuff. But the business has to be successful in order for us to pay for the building. With that being said, I can't work in the business a tremendous amount, because I need to be able to work on the business.
Right.
So I need to be able to use those coaches that are already coaching, even though, guess what I stinking love to do? I love to coach. I love it so much. I love to work with people in person. I love the energy of a good class with 8 to 15 people, the music selection, the scaling options, like that lights me up. If you can't pick it up, folks, through the microphone, I'm pretty passionate about all this stuff. But it's one of those things, Chase, that I got into this side of our business with a very clear mindset on. I want to create coaches that are better than me. I want people to rave about their experience at our facility. I want it to ooze. I want to attract a coach and attract a type of personality that it oozes from them to share this methodology with people, because they know it changes lives. And if we can do that and do it well, then I'll be able to work on the business, and it will be churning and burning, and we'll be impacting people's lives to the nth degree. And guess what? I'm going to have a great spot to have CrossFit Bible Talks, baby. We're going to be in there sharing the gospel, doing great things for people that want to come. But that would be the thing, is that there's these kind of two different perceptions that I think young entrepreneurs at least need to, question. Do I really love this thing so much that I just want to do it forever? Or do I really want to build a business and work myself out of these jobs, even though you might have to let go of what you really love to do, which you might not want.
It's scary too. Yeah. It's a choice. Thank you so much for your wisdom and just the experience that you have. It is invaluable, and so I'm very grateful that you decided to share it with us today.
Of course, man.
I have 2 final questions. They're short and sweet, but they're also probably the most important. Is Caitlyn your favorite Kardashian, and what is it about reality TV that's really got you hooked?
It's Caitlyn. So listen, I'm a married man. Been married since 2012. It's 2020. It's 2027. We're you know, it's going to be, we're 14 years. Okay. Yeah. 14 years. So look, I love to spend quality time with my wife, but also I'm a big rom-com and reality TV guy.
There you go.
So when she says, hey, can we watch this or watch that? I'm like, yeah, let's put that on. We're good. We're good to go. So that's context. That's context with, I'm sure, were the origins of this question. And is Caitlyn my favorite Kardashian? I don't know if I have a favorite. This is probably doesn't sound great, but I really like it when Scott Disick's on there. He always makes me laugh. He's a funny dude. Funny dude. So that would be some of my favorites. Although sometimes he's a bit, I'm worried about my man. I'm worried about it. Scott, if you want to study the Bible or anything, bro, reach out, hit me up. Because I think I can help you with some things, man. You're a cool dude. God loves you. God loves you, and he wants to get you right.
There you go.
But yeah, man, hopefully that answers your question. I do love the Kardashians, though. Don't get it twisted. We might have missed a season or two in our house because we're a little bit busy with buying gyms and all this stuff. But yeah, you guys get the idea. We enjoy some reality TV at our house sometimes.
You got some stuff to catch up on. There you go.
It's kind of that, if we don't have serious things to discuss or catch ups to do, which of course we have scheduled. We could probably do another married podcast one time with me and my wife, talk through some of this stuff. We get things that we schedule together because we do work together. So it's like, hey, these nights we catch up. It's kind of like a spiritual catch up. Then these nights we catch up, and it's kind of like a business catch up. And we don't have those things going on, man. Who knows what's on TV? We're having a good time. On.
It's time.
That's right.
All right. Well, finally, man, in 5 words, answer me this.
Ooh.
What puts a smile on your face?
I think it's 6 words.
Okay, I'll give you 6. The judges approve.
Doing what I want to do.
There you go.
I mean, to me, and I'll elaborate just real quick, because I know our time is sensitive, but doing what I want to do, that means like my whole life I've wanted to have freedom. When my children were little and before they got into school, bro, I wanted to spend more time with them than I got with my dad. When, gosh, I think about working. Everybody has to work. And so I want to pay my mortgage and do this adult side of life with things that light me up. I want to do what I want to do. And, that part of that comes from, I want to have the freedom in the morning to nestle up to a nice dark cup of coffee and my Bible and have that space alone with God. Like those are things that make me really happy. And all of it is, it stems from to be honest with you, is like, I also want to, make God proud of me. I'm a big like achievement guy, and I think it can be bad also, so I've got to watch it, but I've always wanted to make people who care about me the most, like proud of the things I do. And that really makes me happy. And when I can make my mom smile or my grandma proud or like achieve something. When I was young, it was very much sports, right? But now I see it as like the way I even love my wife or raise my family up. If I can make them proud, it does something to my heart. It makes me, it really does like make me happy. So there's another probably 1 million words to fill that in, but those are things that I really enjoy. And it fills my cup for sure, bro.
Doing what I love to do. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the episode today with Adrian Conway. Adrian, thank you for having time to come hang out with us today. Guys, you can find him on the True Fitness Podcast on YouTube and on Apple Music. You can also get access to all 8 of his programs just for $19.99 a month. It's an absolute steal. I've used it and I love it. TrueFitness.com. That's TTRU Fitness.com. Coach Conway, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate you.
We'll see you guys later.